So did Genesis just save Yu-Gi-Oh? Before we get into the video, let me just go ahead and apologize here. I am really sick. I think I have COVID. I have a test scheduled for tomorrow, but if my voice sounds awful, you know why. I feel like I'm super late to the party here because everybody and their mom already knows by now what Yu-Gi-Oh Genesis is. I think it's been announced for over 2 weeks at this point. But if I'm being completely honest with you, it never really was my intention to make yet another video talking about the announcement of Genesis, right? I feel like multiple channels and a lot of the big Yu-Gi tubers have already covered this. Everybody has already gone over it. So what I wanted to do was wait a little bit and actually get to play the format a little bit first, right? So I'm not going to talk today about the announcement or how it works. I'll briefly go over that for like 10 seconds. But really the focus of the video is going to be more my opinion of the format and my experience with it so far, because I've been playing a lot of it and I really like it. I gotta just start off by saying that there is a profound feeling of vindication here. I don't know if that's the right word to use or if that's too dramatic, but man, I've been making videos talking and complaining and criticizing Yu-Gi-Oh for like almost 3 years, I would say at this point. The first video that I ever made on this channel was me complaining about the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh, so it's really nice to feel like, not obviously my complaints alone didn't change this, right? Obviously nobody at Konami is watching my little insignificant channel, but combined our voices have actually prompted them to make this. So there is a huge feeling of like, yeah man, us talking about this, us amplifying each other's voices actually resulted in something really cool. On top of that, just to make it full on Christmas here for me, they've also announced X-Saber support, which is my favorite archetype since forever, and it hasn't really gone support in like a decade, so I'm really happy. So just really quick, before we get into my opinion and experience now, having played the format for about a week, let's just really quick bring everybody up to speed for like 20 seconds if you don't know what I'm talking about. So I want to say that for about 2 weeks now, Konami has announced a new format for Yu-Gi-Oh called Genesis. And from the looks of it, this is not something that they're taking lightly. This is not a temporary, celebratory type of event that is just going to go away in a few months. No, it's intended to be played at tournaments now, and we've actually seen our first tournament already be played at this point. This is something that they have full expectation that you should be able to play at your locals and also compete in tournaments using this format. Now we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video because I kind of have my opinions about that, but I digress. Moving on, this is what the format is. This is how it works. This is kind of what me and a lot of people have been asking for a long time. It is a second format that runs parallel to the main format of the game. Is it exactly everything that I ever wished for? No, not really, but hey, close enough, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's a lot of fun. I've been talking on this channel forever about putting some sort of cap or limit on the power level of different cards or how the game is played, right? Power creep has been a huge issue with Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time. It's gotten to the point where even pros are abandoning the game or, are making videos that feel very doomerish, I guess, which I hate that term, but that's how a lot of people put it, where we see some of the best professional players competing at the finals of a tournament, and the game basically boils down to being done on turn one, right? One opponent locking the other one out of even being able to play. We've gone to this point with Yu-Gi-Oh where power creep has gone uncontrolled for so long that now there is no game to play. It's not even that the game just looks crazy or it's just too long of combos. It's so bad that you can't even actually play the game anymore. The whole point of the game now seems to be to lock your opponent out of even being able to play the game on turn one. So I digress. This format tries to address that and makes the game a little bit more fun. The way that it tries to solve this problem is, number one, it gets rid of pendulums and links completely. So there are no links or pendulums that you can even use. Secondly, it works on a token type of system. So different cards have different costs and the general pool of tokens that you have is 100. So you have to choose your cards based on their cost and what's allowed. So believe it or not, you could actually use cards like Pot of Greed, Graceful Charity. They just have a cost, right? So if you choose to use those cards, you might not have enough tokens left to be able to use, say, Ash Blossom or something like that. Or say if you want to run something like Barone in your deck. I think Barone is either a 50 or 65 cost, I don't remember. But the point is that you have to balance your deck according to those tokens. Just using my own deck here as an example because I'm playing X-Sabers, right? So one of the cards that I really wanted to run was Gozen Match. I think that's what it's called, where there can only be one attribute of monster in the board at all times. That is a very powerful card in general, but in this deck, it's really strong because the attribute of all the monsters is Earth, right? So if you run that card, it gives you a huge advantage. However, it does have a token cost of 100, so if I do choose to run this one card, I am hedging all my bets on this one single strategy, this one card. And as a consequence, I'm not going to be able to run, say, Ash Blossom or any of the other hand traps, any of the other Ghost Bell type of cards. There's a lot of cards that have costs, like even like Dark Hole. I wouldn't be able to run that. Dark Hole has a cost, I think, of 5 tokens. So, the point is that if you choose to run something, you're missing out on other stuff. So not only do you have to be super careful about what you choose to invest in, it also kind of forces you to switch up your strategy, right? I found myself constantly reevaluating my strategy to see if it makes more sense to make a more traditionally balanced deck that runs a bunch of hand traps like Called by the Grave, Forbidden Droplet, or Ash Blossom, versus a deck that is relying on, say, one broken strategy, or running like 3 Pots of Greed or whatever, right? So it was really cool to have to make that decision and not be able to just run everything, or really feel like there's not just a ceiling, but it forces you to play different. 2 people that are playing the same archetype might be running very, very different strategies because of that token system. Now, with that said, does it still feel like you're playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh? Yes, to an extent it does. This is not rolling back the clock. You're not going to feel like you're playing dual monsters again. That's just not the case. It's not like the new archetypes that they came out with this year or last year are banned and you can't play with them. In fact, after the first YCS that actually hosted Genesis format, one of the top decks that we saw was Vanquish Soul, so that hasn't gone away. I definitely don't want to give people the impression that they're going to feel like they're playing DM again, or that they're going back to the GX era. It still kind of feels like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but a way better version of it. The game does still feel pretty fast, pretty high octane, but you don't feel constantly locked out of playing the game. You don't feel like combos just go on forever like they do in the traditional game. You don't feel like you're playing solitaire anymore, which, you know what, like I said, is it my ideal solution for Yu-Gi-Oh? Is it everything I've ever hoped for? Not really, but I think it's kind of the best they could do without actually nuking the game. This is a really, really good solution, and the way it plays, it's super, super fun. Now, that's not to say that I have zero concerns or that it's perfectly balanced. In fact, Konami recognizes this and they are already rebalancing it here and there. They're tuning it. And that's all great and to be expected, right? It just came out. It's natural that people are going to try to abuse certain strategies and they're going to have to get nerfed. However, they have now created a framework which essentially allows them to do something that they haven't been allowed to do previously, which is fix their whoopsies. One issue that Yu-Gi-Oh has always suffered from is this idea that every time a new archetype comes out, it reinvents the format, and even if it's something that wrecks the game and it's broken, you can't really roll back the clock because it doesn't have any sort of rotation. Sure, you can hit an archetype that's too powerful, you can ban certain key cards that they use, or make it so they're restricted so the deck is not as powerful, but generally speaking, there's this feeling that with every new archetype that comes out, it kind of sets a new bar for how the game is played. And the issue is that by not having a rotation system, they can't kind of redo their mistakes. Well, with a format like this, they kind of can. It allows them to create new archetypes and put different costs on those cards. So you can still play with them. You don't feel essentially cheated, right? If you buy a really strong card and then it gets banned, that's not a great feeling. With the token system, there isn't as much need to just outright ban something, right? And cheat you out of a card that you bought. You can just put a high cost to it. So if you choose to use something like makest Circular, you can't run Ash Blossom or whatever. You can't run these other staple cards that are super important. So it does allow them a more easier path to fixing a mistake or an overly designed card or an archetype that's just too strong. It makes things way more flexible. Is this a substitute for proper rotation? Does this fix everything that's wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh? Does this prevent Konami from ever breaking the game again? Probably not, but it gives them a tool in a format to constantly be able to reevaluate that without pissing everybody off and nuking the game. I haven't really seen anybody complain about it. Generally speaking, the reception has been super positive. Even friends of mine that haven't touched this game for over a decade are pretty hyped about this. People that haven't played since before the Edison era type of thing, they're looking forward to this and they heard about it. So the word is definitely getting out. So as far as my experience with the format so far, I've been having a blast. I think it's very, very fun. Have I already encountered some pretty frustrating strategies that were not fun to play against? Absolutely. However, there was never a game where I felt completely locked out of being able to play or that I felt like I couldn't have done anything type of thing. It was rare. There were also very few games where I felt like I was playing solitaire, right? Or watching somebody play solitaire. Those endless long combos don't seem to be as big of an issue anymore because of them getting rid of link cards. Does it probably still require some fine-tuning, some balancing? Absolutely, and they're working on it. This is to be expected. This is almost like the beta phase, right? So it makes sense that they're reevaluating everything constantly. But generally speaking, there is this feeling that is being recaptured by this format, a feeling that I didn't think could be possible anymore, that I thought was kind of dead for the game, which is that 2010 Edison feeling that I felt back in the day. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh is something that I can really only handle in small doses, right? I can only play it maybe a couple days, 5 games each day, and then I'm done for like a month. I really don't like it. With Genesis, I'm finding myself excited to play the game again. I'm like looking forward to getting home from work and sitting down and playing the game for as many hours as I can, which is something that I really haven't felt since I was like a teenager. So it's been great. I feel like this format is striking a great balance between still keeping some of the new stuff without completely rolling back the clock. It still has a lot of that high-octane type of gameplay that we saw back in Edison era and a little bit after that, right? Where the game started feeling really fast and really intricate and really fun, but it didn't feel completely broken like it does now. It really recaptures that with a little bit of a blend of the new stuff. Now to finish the video, let's talk about my concerns for the format, which are not really, I guess, concerns about the game itself. It's more concerns with what Konami's gonna do and their expectation. My number one issue that I've had so far, and it's something that I'm really worried about, is that this might not come to Master Duel. Now, they haven't announced that they're not going to do that or that they are going to do that. And in my opinion, you would have to be completely stupid not to do that, especially given the declining numbers we've been seeing for Master Duel. Any sane company in the world would do this. However, this is Konami that we're talking about. Something tells me that there is a possibility that this does not come to Master Duel. Reason being because this is a TCG format. I urge and ask everybody that's watching this video to stop playing Master Duel. Like, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. I'm not your boss, right? But in my opinion, we should not play Master Duel until Genesis gets implemented. And if they do make an event for Genesis, even if it's temporary, we should all play it. The reason for that is because we want to send them signals that we're really hyped and interested on this. If Master Duel has been seeing declining numbers for months, and as soon as they implement Genesis, everybody comes back, or even if it's a temporary thing, we show them with numbers that we are interested, I think it increases the likelihood of them putting this in Master Duel. Because I'm just going to be honest with you, I have no intention of playing this physically. I have no intention of ever playing physical Yu-Gi-Oh in my life again. Maybe their hope is that this brings more people back to the physical game, and it's a chance for them to make more money, right? Because the physical game is so much more expensive, and if there's a format that everybody loves and wants to play, and it's only available for the physical game, you could, farm people for their money a little bit more, farm their wallet. However, I refuse, and this is not something that you have to refuse to do as well. I don't think that there's anything wrong with people liking and playing the physical game, whatever. There's reasons that people like it. There's a social component to it. I get it. I cannot justify the price. That's my main thing. And I cannot justify the amount of times I've been burnt by the company to go back to reinvesting, right? Whereas Master Duel, it's so cheap, it's such a better product, and most of us already have access to the cards, and even if you're brand new to the game, there is so much free stuff that you get. It's just a way more generous business model, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I have absolutely zero desire and intention to shove myself in a card shop crammed in with a bunch of people when I could play in the comfort of my couch by the fireplace, man. Like, just physical Yu-Gi-Oh is not my world anymore. It's like my thing is I get home late at night after work and I can play any time of the evening, 2 o'clock in the morning, with people from across the world, again, in the comfort of my own home. That's what I'm into. I am so over card shops, which is actually my next subject because I don't think that's going to work very well. I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, that their intention is that locals and your local card shop is going to support Genesis, and they're going to be hosting different tier formats for Genesis, like tournaments or days or games that use 200 or 300 tokens or even 0 tokens. They have really encouraged card shops to host their own events and kind of play around with the token rules. So there is this expectation that people are going to be coming to the card shop to play this, and that card shops are going to be supporting it. And it's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, just coming out with a cool new format isn't enough to get card shops to host the game again, because there's many problems. One of them just the products. Most card shops don't sell Yu-Gi-Oh anymore because the product doesn't move. It's not because they don't like the game anymore. It's because nobody buys the tins. Nobody buys packs. We've been dominated by the singles culture, and the products are so bad, I don't blame anybody. There's no reason to buy a tin or packs, at least in the US and in South America, because those are the regions that I'm more familiar with. I'm not as familiar with how things are in Europe or in Japan or whatever, but at least in these places, if you want to move product, you got to make better product, right? Card shops are not going to host events for products that they can't sell or that they don't sell. Second issue had to do with fights, and unfortunately, I don't think that's something that can be resolved, but unfortunately, Yu-Gi-Oh has a reputation for breaking out fights. I don't know why, but it does. The other huge issue has to do with promotion and marketing, which is something that Master Duel could really help with. Yes, like I said before, to an extent, the word is absolutely getting out there. A lot of people are hearing about this and they are interested. But to think that the vast majority of people who haven't touched this game in over a decade are suddenly gonna hear about this somewhere in a corner and are out of nowhere gonna get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, start buying packs again, redo their deck and start showing up to locals, I just think that expectation is super unrealistic. I have already checked out the local scene here in my area. I've already gone to my local card shops to see if they're hosting Genesis, and they're just not. I know that that's what Konami's hoping for, and it's their expectation, but you're not their boss. Like, if the game doesn't sell, if nobody wants to play it, or people just don't know what Genesis is, you can't force it. I just think that trying to force this into a physical format only is a really, really dumb idea. For all of you that do enjoy the physical game, by all means, partake, have fun. This is probably one of the best things that we've seen come out of the game in over a decade, so have fun, man. I am all about it for you, but I will not be partaking for the reasons I already listed here ad nauseum. And that's what's sad. My concerns don't even come down to the format itself. It doesn't come down to the balancing. It doesn't come down to, oh, I hope that Konami doesn't ruin this format again, which I hope they don't, but with the way it's designed, I find that hard to do, but of course there's a level of that concern, but it's just sad that my main worry is that the company is going to try to force us or funnel us in some way to only being able to play this the way that they want, right? I'm not into that. I think that Yu-Gi-Oh has problems, man. You guys created something that everybody's excited about again. So please make it accessible. Make it so most people can play this however they want, especially after COVID. There's a lot of people like, I'm immune compromised. It's not even just because I don't want to mingle or I don't want to be there with people and I don't know, I like my couch. It's like, I'm immune compromised. I can't be around people like that, man. If I get sick, I can get really sick. So I'm not going to be able to partake because of that. Thankfully, there's stuff like Dueling Nexus, which I'm using here, but I really want to play this on Master Duel. So this is my plea, man. And this is my my hope that people stop playing Master Duel and we see the numbers tank until they do a Genesis permanent format or they bring it temporarily and we can show them that we're interested. So anyway, I think I've ranted for long enough here about the subject. Those are my thoughts on Genesis. Those are my worries and grievances. And this is where I'm at. As always, if you stuck with me till the very end, I really appreciate your time. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please don't forget to subscribe. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Take care. Thanks again.